All right, guys. So, what is the weight of in-class activities? You can just shout it out. 10%. So it counts. It's the smallest grade that counts. And there's, as I said, every day a participation. So today's participation is this kind of like scavenger hunt. That is the new trend about syllabus because syllabus is so long and it breaks up the class. But 10%. So how is that earned at the end of the quarter or semester, I should say? My bad. All right. You will see like in your grade book, it'll say like participation. If you're here, you pretty much get 100. Right? I don't maybe like a 9 out of 10 because sometimes I do give like feedback and just they're low stakes, right? Obviously, we want to get as many things right, even if it's just stuff like this as possible. But I'll leave it at that, right? So a lot of different ways to participate, but you need to be here and it counts for 10%. And that should be your boost, right? That's like your extra credit. It's just coming, participating, and doing what I say because I'm the boss. No, meeting a classmate is important. Collaborating on day one, in my opinion, and every day can be important. All right, so enough about that. What is the weight of your homework on your final grade? So a little more weight. Again, it adds up though. And if you read through that, there is, let me find it. There is something about, there's a lot to read there and you can come back to it later, but bottom line up front is this. Can you submit, and I don't know if this is on, I forgot. Can you submit homework late? Up to how many days? What's the penalty? Per questions you don't, per day, only on the questions you don't answer. Really, really quick example of that. And by the way, probably the most lenient homework policy ever, but it's intentional. It's also a slippery slope. I'm talking a lot here. So, for instance, suppose there was a homework that had 4 questions. That would be the awesomest homework. I don't know why you want to do it hard. No homework's going to have just 4 questions, right? But suppose the due date has passed. So this is now a 0, 0, 0, 0. You would have a 0. Boo. All right. Versus, let's do this. New story. Question 1, you answer correctly. So it gives you the little green check mark that I showed you. Question 2, same things. Question 3, and all of a sudden you just say, I'm bored, I'm signing out of this, I'll come back to that later, and you don't. So it's a 0. On this assignment, 3 out of 4 is what percentage? So you would have a 75%. However, if you come back tomorrow and say, oh, now I'm going to redo this one, and you get it correct. Well, if it was on time, it would have been 100. But since it's late, it's 3% off only on what wasn't completed. So it's not like this is going to go down. Like, I'm just going to show you exactly how it works. These were completed on time. They're 100. They stay 100. This wasn't. You get it fully correct. You would have got 100 on time, but it's 3% off here, 97. What's your average? Well, it's not obvious, but add up 111, that's 397, and divide by 4, and you're at a 99. So it's not 3% off your grade, bro. You just got a 99 still. 99 point whatever. It's almost 100. 2 days go by. Let's go back to the quick. I think you got the vibe of it, right? Let's say the maximum days go by, right? So you did those 3, but you didn't do the last one. I don't know why you wouldn't, but just for sake, it's the last day. It's Sunday, and you're like, oh, I got to get that last question done. But it's 3 days. You finally get it right. You would have got 100 on the time, but it's 5. You're on the minute. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 points off. So this would have been 100. Now it's an 85 because it's 15. It's 3% per day. And now what would your average be? 385 divided by 4. Still an A. But after 5 days that is closed, you go in to do it, and it's just going to say, you can't access this. And now your assignment is straight up a 75. So that's like the easiest example I could show you about what that means. Get your homework on time. There's homework after every lecture. So I mentioned about 5 minutes ago, it's a slippery slope. You're like, well, that's a pretty awesome policy. It is, and it's also a very dangerous policy because if you abuse it, homework starts layering up. And then you feel the weight, and you use the, well, I can submit this late and it's barely anything. Don't interpret it that way. Don't interpret it the way that's there, because if you just are super struggling, I want you to say, that's okay. I'm putting this away. I'm going to talk about it in class. I'm going to bring it up. And even though like the deadline has passed, I'll shoot him an email or whatever. I'm going to go to a tutor. You're going to figure it out, and I'm going to come back to it and learn it. And there's a small penalty on the few things that were still left open. That's why that's there. That is why that's there. It's not meant to say, let me try to put this off to the last minute. Because again, every day it's going to back. Keep up on your assignments. If you don't know something, it's okay. It's not okay not to eventually know it. Have a plan. I've said it 8 times now, but tutoring, talk to me. As we really get going, go back, revise those so you get your full credit. That's the homework policy. What else do I want to talk about? In-class activities. So are any in-class participation activities dropped? 3. Why do you think 3? Because you can miss 3 classes for no excuse. So if you're here, you're participating, right? I hope. But if you happen to be absent, you can't make up a participation day. And it might be absolutely 100% valid. You're wicked sick. There's unfortunate things that come up, flat tire, and that's it, you're out. And then students say, well, can I make up that assignment? But like in-class participation happens that day. So it's like, no, like this is meaningful right now. It's not gonna be meaningful later, right? So I just say no, but you get to drop it. So you get 3 unexcused absences. If you miss it, that's it. Because if you're here, you're probably gonna get a 100 on the participation. I don't see why not. But just to be clear about that. How about homework? Does any homework drop? 3 as well. Same kind of idea, but here's the thing. If you miss class, you can still get your homework done. Plus, you would want to do that. Homework is more important than the participation. Participation is important, being here is important. But the homework is your practice time. It's the stuff that's going to be on assessments. It's what you're responsible for. And it counts for 50%. Plus, more importantly, it's the stuff that's on the test. And you can use the View an Example. You can use YouTube videos. You can use Khan Academy. I'll show you another day, not today, but you can probably figure it out. In MATLAB, there's something called the video library. If you click that, you can find like videos directly for certain sections as well. So you can still learn the material on your own and get your homework done if you miss class. Still try to be here every day, but I know life happens and some of us will miss a day or 2. That's okay, but please try to be here every day. If you do miss a class, still get your homework done. Although at the end of the semester, I will drop your 3 lowest. Up to 5 days on the homework. What's the calculator policy? Strongly recommend one. What's the email policy? 36 hours. What's the due date for homework? So today's Wednesday. When's our homework due? Monday at 4 o'clock when we start. Okay, fast forward. It's next Monday. When's our homework due?
Wednesday.
Next Monday.
Right. So every Monday, there's homework after class, but it's due for full credit on that Monday. We're going to meet Wednesday of a week. When's that homework due? Monday of the next class. Next class, we have homework. That Monday is due here. This Wednesday's due here. And by the way, the late deadline, late, is right here, both those days, like that before, okay? That's how it works. It's that Sunday before. This one's a little bit off. Like, basically think of it that way, all right? If you're going this far late, think of all the material now that's like starting to add up. So this should be rare, never, but it is an option if needed. So you have plenty of time to get extra help on a topic. It should not be common. I want to stress that. You really are focusing on this is done here, this is done here, check mark. This is ready to go, this is ready to go. If there's a few bumps in the road, you're not even waiting that long, you're trying to get it done along the way, okay? How many questions is typically homework? It varies, but it truly varies. There's been times it's like 50, and that is the most. But if I give 50, I promise you it's something that is worth doing 50, and they're probably like, you're supposed to just say, what's 1 + 1? What's 1 + 5? It's something like that. Like you get a lot of redundant practice. Tonight's homework, for instance, is 20 vibe, and that's usually a good answer, 20-ish vibe. 20, 25, sometimes 17, maybe 30, but 20-ish vibe zone, right? Although some questions, if not most questions, have more than one part. You already saw that in the first example. Like, hey, here's a question that had do this, then this part, then this part. So another way to think about it is I try, and you're supposed to have for every hour in class, 2 hours outside of class. So that's what I'm doing. No, I think honestly, you get done what you need to. It shouldn't take more than 2 hours. And most students in my review, after you guys get your grades and everything, those little teacher questionnaires, say whatever feedback they have to give me. But a lot of it is like, hey, his homework policy is, or thank you, your homework was fair. No one loves doing homework, but it really was fair. And probably the theme of tonight has been homework. It is the most important thing to do to be successful in the class. What are the office hours? They will be Wednesday after this class. Also, I can work with you virtually, so I have a Zoom account, or whatever. So email by appointment, but it's not a guarantee, right? I already told you I'm a high school teacher, so that's already off the table. I don't mind meeting Saturdays and Sundays sometimes virtually. So we'll try to make it work subject to our availabilities, but officially I'll be here every Wednesday after class for about an hour, if need be. And the reason I was thinking that is like, so we'll go through, like I kind of have in mind every week is kind of like a theme. And so Wednesday would be the day that, hey, can you just kind of restate what you went over Monday or what you went over tonight, if need be. What's the policy for withdrawing from the course? It's the last little thing that I think is important, and we are still going to use our time remaining to get started. Withdrawal. So I'll just say it like this. It's in the syllabus. If you stop coming, what I'm going to do is reach out to you through Starfish, which basically, if you don't know what Starfish is, it's just another platform that you and I both have, even if you don't know have it. But I just quickly type in your name, and it like sends out an email, almost like a generic form, but it's going to say, hey, Matt, I noticed you haven't been in class, and I tailor it a little bit. It's not super long, but I'm just like, I'm checking in with you. It also flags to your advisor. It flags to like all types of different little things. So I know like if you are part of the military thing, your military advisor will see it. So people who are kind of overseeing get these notifications too. So that's my way of reaching out to you. And usually your advisor is going to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, what's going on? And usually we'll find out. But in the rare case, first of all, I hope that doesn't happen, right? Come every day. Already mentioned that a bunch of times. And that you're keeping up with the coursework, having a good experience. But in the rare case that even after reaching out to you, none of us hear from you, and let's say, what am I supposed to do? The question is, how do I assign a grade? Is it going to be an F? I don't assign an F. It's in a policy. I assign a W. That means withdrawal. And whatever the last time I saw you is, I look at your grade. If you happen to be passing at that time, it's a WP. If you were failing at that time, it's a WF. It's explained in detail what the differences are, but in my last remark, the differences are this: financial aid. It plays a massive role. Students have gotten a WF and have owed money that they didn't think they were going to owe. And it is what it is. Because, and it's not, that's why I do it. It's like, there's another reason. I'll tell you why, right? And I'll also end with. So withdrawal from any course, whether you do it officially or what is a professor assigns an unofficial withdrawal, changes your hours. So if you, for instance, have financial aid that requires you to be in taking 12 credit hours, but you withdraw or you receive an unofficial withdrawal, your credit hours drop to 9. And therefore, you didn't meet the requirements of whatever financial aid you need. And I don't know whatever circumstances everyone may be in, but there have been times where people now receive bills or this and that because they didn't meet the requirement of the financial aid. However, your GPA is not changed. And that's why I signed that. Because I don't know. I don't want to mess with your GPA. I don't want to mess with your financial aid. So just freaking come to class and it's not messed with. But what I do is I assign that so at least your GPA is protected and you figure out your financial aid yourself. If you need to withdraw. If you need to take an F, and I hate being negative. I don't want to do that. But the most important thing, and this is my remark, and it's in there, is communication. All right. So if things are going south, hopefully we fix it and they're heading back north and everything's good. But if for whatever reason it's just not in the cards and you need to withdraw or something of the course, reach out to your advisor and then me secondary. Your advisor knows best, right? I'm really good at the math stuff. All those other things I know about, but I really don't know about them. Like I know it affects financial aid. How exactly, your advisor will know better. What's best for you, you and your advisor know better. There needs to be a plan though, if for whatever reason you're going to drop the course. So withdrawal sometimes is your best option, and sometimes taking the F, because the F will show the financial aid that you did attempt 13 credits, but it will affect your GPA. But maybe that's what you want to do. You want to just say, I'll recover the GPA. Again, last time I'll say it. I don't want either of those options for anyone. I want straight A's. That's my goal. But if those things happen, communication is key. Yeah. All right. So save the syllabus. Well, it's available online. Always a disclaimer that things are going to change. The most important thing that I have to update are like the topics, but the dates of our exam are at the end of the syllabus. I always will remind you, starting right now, our first exam is I want to say the 12th. Actually, let me just pull it up right here. I got it. The exam dates will not change ever. All right, things in here will change. I'm already going to be a little behind from where I want to be. It's all good. All right, so I will modify those things, and it says that above there. But these bold dates, our first exam is Wednesday, February 12th. Our second exam, well, I'm not going to read all these at you, but it's right there. Right, so open up the syllabus, and those dates are in bold, will not change. How the exam works, exam 1 will cover this week, and this week. Right? And if these move, they'll move. Right? So that Wednesday will be these topics. This exam will be these topics. The next exam covers those topics and so on. The final exam covers all topics. Obviously, we'll discuss that in further detail. It's not every single question, but the major themes starting in week 1 all the way to the end are covered on the final. The final is cumulative, but exams 1 through 4 kind of assess the most recent stuff, the way to think about that. All right. Cool. Any big lingering questions? Makeup exams they're not allowed, right? It says that on there, barring a documented excuse. It has to be documented. And you must reach out to me no later than 24 hours after the exam. Otherwise, it will be a 0. Everyone has testing, not everyone, but most of us have test anxiety. All of us would like a little more time for tests. I get it. So do I. But I need everyone here on exam days, 1 for equity. It's fair to your classmates. It's fair to me, so I can grade them as a class. Usually I don't scale, but sometimes I have. And the way I need to understand if it needs to scale is that everyone has to take it at the same time. For instance, if I grade it and I notice, damn, everyone ran out of time, then I can say I need to adjust the grade so that it reflects what they know, not how fast they know it. Right? And the only way I get a true measure of what we know as a class is when everyone takes it under the same conditions. So when you get a little extra time, and I'm not saying that's why you would ask for a missed exam. If something comes up and it's documented, we'll do a makeup. But you have anxiety, and most of us probably do. Get it? We'll work towards getting over that, but you got to be here on exam days, and that's how I'll read this. All right. So being here is utterly important. All right. Pass those to the end of your row, please. And then everyone on the end of the row, pass it up to the two people in the front. And that's how I'm going to check your attendance for today and give you your first participation grades. We're moving on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, that clock is a little bit fast. It is 5:30, so it's about 2 minutes fast, and I am going to use the next 10-ish minutes to break the ice into our first topic called functions. What is a function? Well, it depends the context. But in a math course, whether it's algebra, trigonometry, pre-cal, calculus, it has a very specific meaning. A function is basically a rule where every input outputs exactly one object. I put those things in quotes because we're just breaking the ice. For instance, name, we're going to say the rule is give that person's birth mother. Now, some of us don't know our birth mother. Some of us choose not to know our birth mother. I'm not here for the therapy session, and that's no joke. But everyone was born from a mother, whether we know this person or not. So, Matt, do I have a birth mother? Yes, her name is Jessica. Input Matt, output Jessica. Oh man, I should really start changing these facts because today's day and age, you're gonna nothing you couldn't find in Google anyways. Input, one output. Is it possible for any name, anyone on the planet to have more than one birth mother, like literal birth mother? Barring any, in the year, it could be science one. But natural birth, no. Everybody has one birth mother. So one input, one output. This would be a function. However, if I just switch this, birth mother, and then we'll just say offspring, children, whatever. So you ask my mom, Jessica, who's your offspring? She'd say Matt and Tom. She's not lying. That's the rule. Give a birth mother, state their offspring. There are two outputs. While this is a rule and legit, it's just not a function. So it's a rule where exactly every input outputs one and only one, exactly one object. And usually they're not going to be names, okay? But I like this example because to me it makes complete sense. Let's look at a mathematical function versus not a function. 1 outputs 3. We call that an ordered pair. You all had some algebra background. I asked you at the beginning. X comma Y. I'm not reteaching everything, but that's just a brief review. X is 1, Y is 3. So input 1, output 3. 7 comma negative 3 and 8 comma 5. You'll see in MATLAB they put these curly brackets. Don't let it sway you. Just recognize we have an input of 1 that pairs with 3, 7 that pairs with negative 3, and 8 that pairs with 5. Is this a function? The answer is yes. How come? 1 outputs 3. And when you look further in the list, it's kind of like this example. Jessica outputs 3. Do we know anything else about Jessica? Nope. So we can conclude Jessica's outputting 3. That's it. It's functioning. How about Jill outputs negative 3? Do we know anything else about Jill? No, we have no other variation. So 1 outputs 3, functioning. 7 outputs negative 3, okay. 8 outputs 5. If there's no repeats, you definitely have a function. Furthermore, we call the set of inputs the domain. So the domain of this function is simply 3 objects, 3 numbers. The domain is 1, 7, and 8. Again, MATLAB will put those curly brackets in for you, so don't overkill it. The most important thing we now introduced, or maybe we've seen it before, what is a function, and what we call the collection of inputs. If you scoop up all the inputs, it's called a domain. Similarly, if we scoop up all the outputs, it's called the range. And we would have 3, negative 3, and 5. Order doesn't matter. So cool. Some teachers make you put it in order. It doesn't matter. So keep it simple. But if a teacher did say put it in order, you'd put the negative 1 first, then 3, then 5. I'm not that teacher, but you never know who's going to be in your future year. I'm not shaming any teacher. I don't care. MATLAB doesn't care because it doesn't matter. Order doesn't matter. Let's look at something that's definitely not a function. But before I do, so far so good. Cool. I leave my papers here. I do keep them. So anyone who might miss a day or just whatever, but I leave them up front and you can take a picture of them on your phone on the way out if I'm going a little too quick. I understand this lesson I am going quick. I don't always go this fast, but I also want you to get the vibe of what the semester is going to look like. New example. 1, 3, let's say negative 2, 5, and 1, 6. Not a function. Who can tell me why? Actually, don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. In your head, you got 30 seconds. Say it in your head. What is the object? What is the number that has more than one output? So tying it back to earlier, Jessica is one. Would have been the object that has like 2 outputs, maybe more. But in this example, what is the object that has more than one output? 1, 2, 3. 1, because 1 pairs with both 3 and 6. If you see a repeat in the domain, it's probably not a function. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Can we still talk about domain? Sure. 1, negative 2. 1 again. You still can talk about domain. We say, listen, it's not a function. There's still some inputs. What are they? 1 and -2. Do not list repeats. MATLAB will say, wrong. And you'll be like, why is it wrong? So if you typed in 1, -2, 1, it's going to say wrong. No repeats. What's the range? 3, 5, 6. I have 2 minutes, and I will use these 2 minutes. I want to talk about graphs in these 2 minutes. If I were to plot these points, quickly sketch. Let's do it, and we'll call it a day. Before sketch it, I'm going to leave us with a last blurb, kind of big blurb, and that's it, right? So hear me out. Let's quickly sketch this. Remember, this is the x-axis, and if x is positive, you move to the right. If x is negative, you move to the left. This is the y-axis, which tells us to move up when positive and down when negative. And so just quickly sketching this, 1, 3, we start at this origin, move about 1, and then 1, 2, 3. So just a quick little sketch there. -2 tells us to move 2 units to the left, up 5, so it'll be higher, it'll be something like that. If we had graph paper, it'd be perfect. Now here's the interesting thing, 1, 6. We're still going 1, we're going beyond the 3, beyond over here, we're gonna go 6. And what's interesting is this input of 1 had 2 outputs. I can literally see they're stacked on top of each other. It's almost like if I could draw a vertical line, they would intersect, they would connect. And so from a graph, if you can imagine drawing a vertical line and it would intersect twice or more, let me rephrase that. If you have a graph and you can imagine a vertical line intersecting it more than once, doesn't matter how many times, it is not a function. And that is called the vertical line test. I'm 60 seconds from being done. I know I'm 2 minutes over at this point for real, but vertical line test. Here's a graph. Is this graph a function? You don't literally draw vertical lines, but you imagine them. Now these are the axes. It's not the graph. Only this is the graph. Does it intersect more than once? Nope. Is it ever going to intersect more than once? Nope. Function. Why? Because it passes the vertical line test. Here's a graph. Is it a function? Nope. There's a vertical line. There's another one. I only needed to find one. Once you find one, it's automatically not a function. But I'm just saying, if you can find one vertical line, this fails VLT, not a function. Welcome to Applied Pre-Cal. That was a Matthew lesson. Sometimes we do these Matthew lessons. I'm going to be respectful of your time. There is an assignment in MATLAB. We need to get to all the topics, so I will make amends. But once I assign it, it's already there, so hear me out. I want to make sure you can get in. Don't use Safari, use Chrome, and attempt your best attempt. If you know some of this from a previous course, just go ahead and answer it. That'll be some feedback for me over the weekend, so I can see what level of like review-ish or introduction we need. If this is good, if I see everyone only answers like the first 5 because they couldn't answer the rest, you got 100, right? But if you can, just give me that feedback. I'm not asking you to go learn it. If you know it, answer it. I'll see you guys Monday.